Hello YouTube people, welcome to Melvin Thinks and thank you for clicking on this video. Now I'm going to say something quite controversial here. Stop using SUMIF. You don't need it, chuck it in the bin. There, I said it. So what's the difference between SUMIF and SUMIFs? Good question. The SUMIF formula returns the sum of cells based on one criterion, a result that matches one condition, whereas the SUMIFs function returns the sum of cells that meet multiple criteria. The criteria mentioned in both functions can be dates, numbers and text. Now my issue is when you set something up as just SUMIF and then later on you want to expand upon it with more criteria, the formula is the other way round. I always watch people forget that the sum range is last and they get confused because they've applied the same logical sequence for the SUMIFs. Save yourself the hassle and just pretend that SUMIF doesn't exist. Now I'm just going to take you through a few working examples here using the sample data I've got open in this spreadsheet. Firstly, I'm going to create a couple of triggers, criteria 1 and criteria 2, and we'll use East as our region and pen as our item. Now if I'm using the SUMIF function, it's very straightforward. We're going to pick the range that we want the criteria to be judged against, which in this instance is the region column or column B. The criteria is the trigger we've just created, which is East or cell J2, and clearly the sum range is going to be this total column here, which is column G. Click return to close the parenthesis, and our result is 6002 and 9. Now this is all well and good, but if at a later point I decide that I want to assess the result of the total cost for the East region, but just for pens for example, then this formula here is no longer viable and it's become obsolete. I have to switch over to the SUMIFs function. So using the SUMIFs function, you'll see straight away that to begin with we have to enter the sum range first. So I will do that. I will enter the total column, column G, and then criteria 1. We will assess the region, and the trigger we've got here is East, and then for criteria 2 we're going to select the item column, column D, and the trigger we've got here is pen or column cell J3. Hit return to close the parenthesis, and the result is 1354 and 25. So why do we simultaneously need SUMIF and SUMIFs? Well, according to the explanation earlier in this video, you must use SUMIF when you've only got one criteria, and you need to switch over to SUMIFs when you've got more than one criteria. Well, that's absolute. You can use SUMIFs for everything. I'm going to select my sum range, which is the total column. I'm going to select my criteria 1 range, which is the region, and I'm going to select my trigger, which is the East cell. And there we go. SUMIFs, SUMIF, SUMIFs, SUMIF. Now the reason why I advise people to stop using SUMIF, pretend it doesn't exist, and exclusively use SUMIFs is because it's easier. It follows a more logical flow of having the sum range first, followed by your criteria, and if you ever do need to add more criteria to it, you're not having to worry about using a completely different formula and remembering whether the sum range is first or last in the sequence, as this sample here shows. So I'm going to add second criteria, and there's my pen. There we go. Thank you for watching this video through to the end. If you've gained anything from it, then please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe so you can be kept up to date when I'm releasing new content. Until next time, look after yourselves and bye for now. Cheers.